Hey guys, welcome back to the Holo Project. I know I told you that the next time you would see this car, we'd be taking it to Tom. I told a little baby fib. Well, at the time I didn't know it was a fib. But obviously we were having fuel issues. We weren't getting enough fuel to the carb, which could be caused by multiple things. However, after digging into the purchase of a new tank and a new sending unit and strainer and stuff for the tank, we can't get the sending unit and the strainer for the carbureted model car anymore. You can get it for the fuel injected, but not the carb cars. And the tanks are different between the carbureted cars and the fuel injected cars as well. Found a cheap tank. Shipping on it's outrageous. O'Reilly's has a tank, but we're gonna try a couple things before we do that, and I'll show you what they are. So we picked up a couple parts here. We got a cap and rotor because the ones that are on the car are original, and when I had it all apart they did look worn, so we're just going to go ahead and put new ones of those in. We have this vacuum pull-off deal here for the carburetor, which the one that's on the car partially works, however it doesn't hold a vacuum like it's supposed to. And these are inexpensive, and O'Reilly's had this in stock. So we're going to put that on it to get the choke working properly. New filters, of course, and we're going to put a new fuel pump in it. 17 years of sitting with that old gas. We all saw how bad the inside of the carburetor was. The diaphragm and the pump could be shot, especially after now running the car a few times. So before we put a tank and stuff in it and drop the whole rear end out of this car and everything else to get the tank out, let's just put a pump in it. So that's the plan. We're going to start with that and see what happens. Let's go ahead and hop under here and see what we've got. Well, as we can already see, our fuel pump's leaking. We could also have bad rubber lines that are allowing air to come in. So I think we're doing the right thing testing this out first. All right, see if we've got a line wrench we can fit on here. That looks pretty good. Well, that's a good sign. We've got some fuel there. Okay, let's see if we can take this loose here and not lose a ton of fuel. I'm almost wondering, when I took that filter out up there and there wasn't any fuel up there, I don't know if it's it just takes enough time for that to, all the crap to like settle back out of the strainer back there, or if it's draining back. I don't know. I'm not sure. And what I can tell you is that I started it up over the weekend and it actually sat here and idled for a while. Hopefully I'm not covering you guys in fuel. Alright, so that's loose. And you can see the fuel's nice and clean. I didn't have anything chunks of anything coming out of there. So that's good. And we'll see if we can get these lines off. Of course, they've got them turned in the world's worst direction from the factory, so that's pretty good. You can always tell they put these things together outside of being installed, because any normal human being would not put that clamp on and turn it towards the fire or towards the inner fender. Get that one turned down a little bit. Turned down for what? Tom's probably wondering where the hell his car is at. I've had it for a few weeks. Okay, that's the return line. That's also clean fuel. Swing those up out of the way here. And with a little luck, hopefully we'll be able to get to the two bolts that hold this on. They look like little half inchers. You guys can see them. They're right up on the back side of this hose. Right up there, you can kind of see it right there. That's what we're after. Whoop, hit the camera. Careful now, don't want to break it. Too late, already broke. So many things that I can't see. It'd be real nice if I could get the whole Milwaukee ratchet up in there. Boy, wouldn't that be something? Well, come on. Well, I'm obviously on a perfect part of the rotation that the spring is, or the lever's nice and engaged, so that's good. Let me throw something on the old cranker shaft here. Take some of that spring pressure off of that fuel pump lever. There she comes. There we go. That's better. Muy bueno. Now we just gotta try to jam this back there and get it on the other bolt. There she comes. It's like the Alan Jackson song. Here she comes. There she goes. I'm not gonna sing it for you though. Our rod obviously is still up in there. All right. There's our fuel pump hole. Should be good. I'm guessing that plate probably holds the rod from falling out. If I were a betting man. And not sure if I want to take that off or not. Would probably have to. Yeah, I would assume that we'd probably have to. This thing's clean under here though. Have I brought you guys under here yet? Looks great. I better check to make sure I have a gasket for that before I pull it off. And I do not. And it looks to me like there's a gasket behind that. So we will not be pulling that off. And we're gonna hope that we can get that rod pushed up and sneak the pump in there. Let's see if I can feel where the rod is. I'm probably really gonna be kicking myself here because you guys know how this stuff goes. I bet you anything I'm gonna have to take that off of there. Well, shit the bed. It's the Bed Shitter 9000. We can still get out the old super scraper though and get this cleaned up. What do you think of that idea? While we're laying here contemplating life and what we're gonna do. Should have left those bolts out because I can't get the super scraper in there. So we'll take that one back out and try to drop it on the floor drain. Now, what are the odds we can stick a magnet in there? Not worth a shit. All right, check. I don't think we have a choice. We're gonna have to take that off. I've got a roll of gasket paper down here, I guess, if we need to make one. Really don't want to take that off, but I don't think I have a choice. Because that thing's probably just hammered to the block with the gasket, is what I'm guessing. Yep. Just another manic Monday. Except for it's Tuesday. 'Cause yesterday was President's Day. Hopefully you guys had the day off. I did. I didn't get anything done though. Son of a biscuit eater. There she goes. And there's our rod. And our gasket actually looks fine. I think we'll be all right with that. Here's the fun part. How do you suppose clean this up a little bit. How do you suppose a guy, if the fuel pump bolts to this plate, you have to have this plate on and put the pump in. So really it did us no good taking this off, because it's not gonna aid in holding that pump, or holding the rod, putting the pump in, I should say. But that's why we do this together on the camera, so you guys can learn what not to do. There's our rod. And normally there's a bolt that you can put in that holds that rod, but what we're gonna do, we're gonna put a dab of grease on the end of this and slide her up in there. Maybe that grease will hold it up while we put the pump in. Little dab will do you now. All right, it appears that that's holding. So let's go ahead and put our plate back on here. And bolt number 2. Okay. Let's see if I can feel in there. Make sure our rod is still pushed up. Yep. She's still up there. All right. I put a thin coat of our aviation gasket holder glue on here. To help hold that. And now let's see if we can get this set up in here. All right, there's that. And just gotta find the hole here. Know what I mean? Oh, let's see. I can't see what I'm doing. Probably just lost my rod, didn't I? Nope, it's still up there. This is gonna get tricky here. We got to try to get 3 things up in here with 2 hands, and whoa, I just want to get a couple threads going on this if I can. Sometimes you just can't find a good light, you know what I mean? The Cyclops is all right, but there's no direct light, and that's what's terrible about it. I've got 2 lights blasting this thing, and I still can't see anything at all. Because neither of them provide direct light. Okay, that one's holding it in. Now the back one is going to be a real pain. I've got a feeling. Let's see if I can weasel it. Yellow.
Hello. What are you doing?
Alrighty, well, that's in and bolted up. Sorry, my brother called and had to chat with him for a bit, and I was laying under here working on it as we were chatting. Hopefully this thing is clocked correctly, and it doesn't appear like it is, but we'll get her figured out here. It looks like it's a little bit off, if you can see there, which is perfect because we've got a steel line, so that works out really well in our favor. And I don't believe that you can turn this to clock it in the correct spot, so that's really special. Yep. Well, I don't know. Let's see what we can do here, I guess. And of course that fuel line runs up along the timing cover up there, so you can't push it. The only thing we could do is bend the line. Outstanding. And this line here is not even close. This one's the only one that I can actually make work. What in the world? Why would that be so far off? Well, let me do some dinking around here. I'll be back here in a bit. Alright, well, we had to go topside and loosen up the fuel line at the carb to get this one on and tweak it a little bit down here. She's in there. Now, we can fight it on the top side instead, because you know dang well that's what's going to happen. So let's grab all of our garbage out from underneath the car. Now that we got the entire toolbox out to put a fuel pump in, it will go up to the top. Alright, well, here's our old pump, and as we could see, it was leaking. So what I would like to do, if at all possible, which I don't know if it is, I'd like to verify if this is actually got a bad diaphragm in it or not. I suppose I could probably try to hammer around the outside and get it pulled apart and have a look in there. We may end up doing that here, but first let's go over here and let's replace this pull-off brake, and I'll kind of show you what that's supposed to do. So essentially, what you should be able to do is push this in, put your finger over that, and it'll hold, which you can see this one does. Push that in, put your finger over the nipple. The one that's on the car does not do that. So let's go ahead and take that off. And it's located right here. It's just these two bolts here. Boy, I got that baby tight, didn't I? Let's just take this connector out of the way here. Take these two screws out of here. And these are the choke adjustment. This spring and screw up here on the top of this. So you can either count your turns or you can measure with an 1/8 inch drill bit here at the choke flap, and I'll show you that here in a second. All right, so don't forget your lever here, and know that you put it in the correct orientation. So take it out of one, put it right back in the other. Let's try it with the vacuum line on it. We'll take this back over and we'll throw her back in here. Hook that back in. Put your vacuum line back on over here, like so. All right, plug this back in. All right, so we got our fuel pump on. We got that on there. Next, let's look at this new cap and rotor. And I did not get the cheap ones actually of this. Obviously you're gonna have to switch our coil and stuff over. So we'll go ahead and pull the wires off of this. And get our connectors. These connectors are a pain. I don't like them at all. Especially this one, the flat that you're supposed to disconnect with to do your timing. Massive pain. Okay. Take our 4 cap screws loose here. All right, take that out of there, and then we'll get our rotor. And we may check our timing while we're in here with this apart. I'm quite certain that these are probably original cap and rotor. Oh, don't drop that. All right. I mean, it's not terrible. Could be better. The cap has definitely got some nasty crap in it. All right, so we'll set that one off to the side. We got to take this one, take the coil and stuff out of this. Where did I just put the damn ratchet at? Hopefully this fuel pump helps out a little bit with getting this thing running the way that we want it to run. Take your 4 corners out of your coil. And don't mess up your pin out when you switch your wires for the cap. Red, yellow, black. Okay? Alright, get these out. Get your coil moving. It's actually fairly stuck in there. We're gonna check this coil before we put it back in, because it's actually appears like it's gotten pretty hot. Don't forget this one in the bottom. Don't forget him. Just take him and throw him right back in your new cap so you don't forget it. Okay? Oh, boss is calling. Alright, like I was saying, don't forget your rubber and your little rotor button and stuff down in the bottom of your cap. The caps always come with a new one, so don't forget to put that in. Let's go ahead and test our coil. Alright, let's test this coil. First thing you want to do is check your leads. You're looking at your resistance. We've got 0.2 ohms, 0.1 ohms. Leads are good. You don't want really much over 1 ohm or 0.1 ohm when you're ohming out your leads on your meter. So make sure that they are good. Next, we're going to check the primary side of this coil. And this should be a low ohm reading. So 0.6 ohms, 0.7 ohms. That is good. This is within the spec for this coil. Next, we're going to check the secondary. That's your black wire and the center of your coil here. And that is 8100 ohms. So anywhere between 3000 and 30,000 ohms, I think, is the spec for this. And we're at 8100, so we're in spec there as well. Our coil should be just fine. So let's go ahead and toss that in to our cap. Like I said, don't forget your pin, your center pin. I may have told you guys wrong, but on your primary side, you want no more than 1 ohm. The low reading would be 0. You don't want any more than 1 ohm. We were showing 0.7, so we're less than an ohm. So we're in good shape. Couldn't remember what I told you. Hopefully I didn't tell you wrong. But I'm correcting it now, on the record, if I did tell you wrong. And these are self-tapping plastic screws, so don't get nuts on them and bench press them in there and tear all the threads out, and just snug them down. Same thing with these. You don't need to bench press them in there. And then take your old cap and go ahead and throw it out in the giggle weeds. Don't need it anymore. Unless you're a pack rat and want to keep it on the shelf for emergency backup spare. which that's acceptable, I suppose, if you want to do that. I probably will, because I'm a pack rat. Or a hoarder, or, you know, whatever you want to call me. All answers will be accepted. I'll buy it for $1. Okay. Now I think what we ought to do is check our timing and make sure that we are on the right tooth. I believe we are, but I think we ought to double check. So we'll pull number 1 wire off. Down here, pull the plug. All right. Actually, it looks pretty decent. We need to grab ourselves a light and shoot it clear down. Clear down yonder so we can see the balancer, which is a pain to see. And we'll turn this over slowly while watching the balancer, which isn't easy to see, if I didn't tell you that already. Now keep in mind that you want to be on the compression stroke when you're doing this, so that you're not 180 off. But I already know we're not 180 off. Right there should be 0. And it actually does kind of look like we may be 1 tooth off. And you can tell that because the rotor, you can see the rotor, hopefully. The rotor is pointing. Let me get out of the way of the camera here. Let me bring it in. All right. You can see where the rotor's pointing. It should be back here. Number one's right up here, and we are not pointing here, we're pointing over here. So I think we're a tooth off. So let me loosen that distributor and we'll move this timing a tooth back. All right, let's go ahead and loosen this hold down, which is a enormous pain in the ass to get to. Because I bolted a, I don't even know what the hell it is, an EGR something control deal right here on the intake, blocking all access to the hold down. So that was really sweet of them to do. And if you're lucky, you can wedge a finger on both sides of that and back it off. Normally I don't like to do all these things in one shot, because then you really never know what solved the issue. But I also don't want to work on this car for the next 8 months doing one thing at a time. then it would turn into a project like the Cadillac. And the Cadillac's a large project. Okay, let's get some of this stuff up out of the way. Should be able to lift this up now. And we'll take it back a tooth, and hopefully we can get it to drop back into the oil pump. Probably not gonna get lucky enough to do that. That's the connector I've been looking for 4 days, plus or minus a couple weeks. That's a really good spot for it. Back there. How is it hooked under? This thing is underneath like everything. Holy cow. Oh, there it is. Hey, look at that. There's the 4-pin connector I've been looking for forever, that you need to disconnect for your timing. Hidden behind every freaking thing imaginable. Now we can pull that. Now we can pull it up. Okay. Holy cow. So let's pull that out of there, and we'll get our long flathead screwdriver and maybe be able to see back here, and we'll turn that back. And then with the smallest amount of luck, we'll be able to get this to drop into it. A lot of times you can just gently bounce this thing and it'll end up pulling it in. Normally you can get it to go a tooth at a time. There she goes. All right, let's see how that looks. Now that to me, you can see where it's pointing. That to me looks like number 1. It's pointing right here. I like that better. That looks correct. All right, let me button this back up. All right, well, she's back together. Let's see what happens. Nope, she's not back together. Let's put this number 1 spark plug back in and take the ratchet off the crank. Boy, howdy, would that have been a... That'd have been a bad day, you suppose? Well, we can get this plug in quick, tighten her down, and get that ratchet off the crank, I reckon. And then we're gonna fire this hog up and see how we did. We've got the combo going tonight. We've got new fuel pump and timing straightened back around and new pull-off valve on the carb, and you know, we got all the things going in our favor tonight. You think it'll actually start and run? We shall soon find out. All right, plug is in, plug wire's on. Ratchet's off the crank. Everything's hooked up here. That is, you know, somewhere as far as timing goes. Okay, well, it's gonna take a bit to get fuel up to the carb, I reckon. We'll see what happens here. I suppose we'll give it the pump to the floor. She sounds a little bit lazy. Let's see, let's go that way just a little bit here. And let's give that valve here just a little bit of a tweak. I did put the new fuel filter in the carb also. All right, it's choking itself out. This choke setup on this thing is stupid. Especially once it doesn't start the first time, then you're like screwed. I need to tighten that down a little bit more. All right. Here we go again. Take 35. Now that it's flooded and the battery's going dead. That sounds really sluggish. Well, I guess I could be a tooth off the other direction. It's always a possibility. This choke setup never works the way that it should. So that's always a huge positive. All of our stuff's hooked up. Yeah, I don't know. We might revisit this tomorrow night. Because it clearly doesn't like something. I would think that would be way retarded. Apparently it likes it. Let's reset the choke, I guess. I think I'm definitely a tooth off still, the wrong direction. So we'll have to fix that. We'll do it tomorrow night. Good progress tonight though, at least. It's running. New fuel pump, choke pull off, cap and rotor, fuel filter. I mean, not too bad. Let it run for a little bit, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright, it's the next day. We pulled everything back apart and moved our timing one tooth forward. So it's more pointed probably like here now. And obviously you got to make sure that your number one spark plug wire goes on the cap on number one, which is where your rotor would be pointing. So this is number one. And we've got our number one wire on there. So let's see what we get now. I've got the choke set. All right, the choke is set. And everything's plugged back in. Double check it. Distributor is snugged down. So let's have a go at it. Okay, let's give it a little advance. The thing that irritates me about this is that, like I was trying to show you last night, I didn't get it set very good. They say for your choke, you're supposed to push this in all the way and hold it. And when you do that, it cracks that choke plate. And that gap right there is supposed to be an 1/8 inch from what I keep reading and whatever. But it chokes it off so much that it won't start. So I'm not understanding this design. You guys out there probably know. Obviously I don't, because I can't ever get it to start right unless this choke's open a little bit. See, it'll try. I guess we'll give it a couple shots of fuel and then that resets the choke, but come this way. So now it won't even try to start because the choke's all the way closed. That sounds pretty good actually there. Obviously we'll have to go through and unplug that 4-pin and do the timing that I've been talking about for 3 weeks. But we need to get it warmed up to do that. And I can never get the damn thing to run long enough. So I'm gonna let it run and see what happens. We'll be back here in a minute. down a little bit here. And looking pretty good in here. Still have to run for a little while still, but sounds good. All right, we've got our timing light hooked up, our 4-pin back there disconnected, and you want to shoot right down here between the water pump and the timing cover. And basically, I just set my timing light to 6 degrees, rotated the cap until that 6 degrees was on the 0 degrees for timing down there. And yeah, that's it. We finally got our time. Check engine light's on, obviously, because we've got that 4-pin disconnected. But we'll shut her off, plug that connector back in, and fire it back up here. All right, we plugged our connector back in, fired it back up. Check engine light went back off. And now we've got to get her to idle down a bit here. This thing just loves to run high RPM. I don't understand why. See? Should keep running when that's all the way off. There's probably still some adjustments that we have yet to do. I don't know what they are though. But anyway, it actually runs and starts pretty easy. Supposed to idle like 600 RPM and we're at 1500. So anyway, I'm gonna fool around, try to get this idle down, and when I figure it out, I'll bring it back on. All right, we adjusted our fast idle right down here a little bit, and then now we're going to smooth her out a little bit. Try to. And then we will grab our special tool for the idle mixture screws and see if we can tweak on those a little bit. Back to this here. See how it sounds. lurching like that. I guess we could try to idle it down just a little bit more. It's still a little high. About 850 RPMs or so. Just out of curiosity, I wonder what that computer controlled takes the timing up to. Yeah, it advances it a little bit. I don't know why it surges the way that it is, but I don't know. Let's try to take it for a ride, I guess. Well, if you probably didn't notice, you will now. We didn't take it for a drive. But we do have a chunk of line on the fuel pump. It goes into a fresh can of gas because right before we were going to take off, you guessed it, it stalled. So, yeah, we never made it anywhere. So, we're going to see if we can get it to pull out of the tank. And if it runs good this way, then we know for sure the strainer is getting plugged up in our tank. In theory. You guys are probably all laughing at me right now thinking, you idiot, this isn't going to work. But it should. It should work. And you don't know until you try. So let's try. That new pump we put in should have enough suction to pull from this tank just like it would its own tank and run. So let's try to get it started. And we'll go from there. Pull, baby, pull. Alright, so we don't want that sucked to the bottom. I think that's what happened there. So we'll gently set her like that. And now we'll try it out again. Okay. Are we getting any fuel yet? I don't think we're pulling any fuel yet. And like I said, this could possibly not work. Let's try to get some in the bowls. Get her running here. She's obviously flooded because it's leaking. Where's it coming from? That further proves our theory, actually, that we weren't getting adequate fuel from the carb or from the tank. Because if we would have been, it wouldn't be leaking out of there, right? Come on. Obviously pulling fuel out of that tank, and you guys can clearly hear it's not running bad. We just can't get her to stay running. So I guess that brings us to our next question of turning the fast idle back up just a little bit, and then we're going to move that cam back up there so the choke's on a little bit. And we'll hit it again here. We do have the 4-pin disconnected, so I'm going to recheck the timing here. Pretty good there. Our check engine light should be on now. Yep. Alright, let's shut her down. Nice little diesel there. That's pretty cool. I'll plug this 4-pin back in and we'll start it back up. thing plugged in. Okay, 1200 RPM there. Turn this idle back down. That's the best we've had this thing idling. 750. I'm gonna go ahead and say there's something in the fuel tank. We need to take that up just a little bit. That's pretty low. I know the fans are on, but let's give it just a little bit. I don't know, what do you guys think? Pretty good. Sounds good. I'm gonna say we'd had fuel issues pulling from the tank. The sock's probably plugged up on the strainer, preventing fuel to get up here like a constant speed of fuel. And just pulling out of the tank, you can tell it's tenfold better. It's not surging like it was. I'm gonna say that's a win. There we go. Sorry this has been drawn out a little bit, but sometimes you got to take these steps to get something diagnosed the proper way, and you know, that's what we've done. So I guess the next step's going to be we're just going to go through with it, put a tank in it, sending unit, and get that strainer clean, or put a new sock on if we can find one, and go from there. But I'll give you a forewarning, the next week and the following week I will be on the road. I'll be in Indiana, and then I'll be in Texas for work related stuff. So I think my brother's got some good stuff for you on the 69 GMC. That truck's gonna be freaking sweet. You guys need to watch some of those videos. He's doing a ton of work to the chassis, and that truck's gonna be awesome. So appreciate everybody watching, and we'll see you when I get back from work. Enjoy Matt's 69. It's a badass truck. See ya.